It's their first go around and they don't really have that spiritual depth yet.
Shit, I'm gonna call it out next time. Like as soon as they switch the
Oh, you a
conversation,
foundational
like,
soul.
foundational. What, excuse me?
What?
Yeah.
You good, bro.
Nah, you good. You good.
Where my people at? Yo, what's up? Welcome back to Change Your Algorithm Page, man.
What's good, guys?
What we doing today, baby?
We're doing a reaction video on Naval Ravikant. It's on Chris Williamson's page.
Mm-hmm.
It's for how we can't change people.
Okay. And who is
that's
this
pretty
dude
much
again?
the topic out of the podcast. Naval Ravikant is a author. He's a angel investor, entrepreneur, all those things. And he pretty much wrote this book called the Almanac that I read. It's really good. It's just kind of about the basic Bible about life on his perspective, and it's really good.
Damn.
So yeah, check that out if you get a chance.
You
and
can
also
let me hold it.
I don't have the book physically. I did the audiobook. And so let's get into it.
What's that inside of yours? We think we can't change ourselves, but we can. We think we can change other people, but we can't.
Exactly. Another thing to add to that, you can't change other people. You can change your reaction to them. You can change yourself. But other people only change through trauma or their own insight on their own schedule, and never in a way that you like.
Yeah, Alain de Botton says that people do sometimes change, but rarely in relationships and never when they're told to.
Absolutely. Yeah, the fastest way to kind of alienate somebody is to tell them to change. In fact, the Dale Carnegie School of Public Speaking, the way that operates is they get you up there and they realize that the number one problem with public speaking is that people are very self-conscious. And so people who are practicing in the Dale Carnegie School of Public Speaking, I don't know, I never went through it. I heard this secondhand, so I could be wrong, but I like the story, where they get up and they start speaking and the people in the audience are only allowed to compliment them. Genuine compliments, not fake compliments, on things that they did well. But you're not allowed to criticize them on things that they did poorly. And eventually they kind of get through it and they develop self-confidence. The same way, there's like the Michelle Thomas School of Language Learning.
It's funny because in my writing class they kind of do the same like environment in a way. So like every writing class, someone's allowed to pitch. So you raise your hand, whoever you call on, you pitch the story that you're writing, whether it's a film or a series idea. And then he asks all the other students to like say stuff that stood out to you or things that you like. And then the teacher himself does that again. He highlights everything that they did well. Then at the end, he kind of gives like, but I think there's a little space here where you could have maybe focused on this, because I think that's what the story might truly be about, but it's up to you. But, he kind of gives guidance afterwards, and he doesn't say, oh, this is what you got to do. Yeah. So then, and I've seen it, how it helps people and how, next time they go up, even others, now that they see that person have that good experience, now they're not afraid to pitch. Yeah, because now they're like, oh, damn, I'm kind of curious to see what I'm going to do good. Yeah. And then if there is some space to improve, I'll learn that, Yeah. So that's like good leadership, bro. Yeah, it sets like a good environment.
What we were talking about in that podcast about radical candor, just giving the people, giving the person their kudos, and then just kind of showing them where they could have improved. At the end, after complimenting them and giving them their flowers, and then kind of like tweaking from there. Right.
No, this shit pairs well with that podcast, man.
And on that one, what they do is you listen to a teacher talking to a student. They're not teaching you. You're not expected to remember or memorize anything. You just listen to a student stumbling over the language. And it's a better way to learn because you yourself don't feel flustered. You're being tested, graded.
Oh, so you're not in your own head as much.
Correct. You're not in your own head, and you might even be laughing at the student, or you might be agreeing with the teacher, or vice versa, or sympathizing with the student. But because you are a passive observer, you can be more objective about it, and you aren't threatened or fearful, and you can learn better. And coming back to the original point of you can't change people, if you do want to change someone's behavior, I think the only effective way to do it is to compliment them when they do something you want, not to
positive reinforcement.
Yeah, exactly. Not to insult them or be negative or critical when they do something you don't want. And we can't help it. It's obviously in our nature to criticize, and I do it as well. But it just reminds me that
that's good, man.
When somebody does something praiseworthy, don't forget to praise them. Definitely go out.
That's good, man, because man, I think even when I spoke about in the last pod, like, you know, how I grew up, my dad was a little on my ass. He was a little, because he just didn't want me to be the one that was like spazzing out, causing problems and shit, or getting in trouble eventually, like when I got older. But and then it kind of, I remember when living with the guys, it kind of created like, you learn to just only call out when someone's fucking up. You know what I mean? And then that's when you're doing that to like peers, you know what I mean? It's like maybe you can get away with that shit when you're someone's parent or someone's like mentor or someone that's over them. But when you're doing it to peers, like it's not something that's effective. You know what I mean? It's only going to create like tension. So that's dope that he said, like, you know, focus on complimenting them when they do something that you do like or you do, I guess, admire, instead of focusing on like what they're not doing right. So that's dope.
Radical candor.
Has to be genuine. It can't be a fake thing. This is not, you know, one of those just dropping compliments type thing. Eventually, that people will see through that. They want authenticity, but just don't forget to praise people when they do something praiseworthy, and you'll get more of that behavior.
There was a really famous thread on Reddit about 5 questions to ask yourself if you're uncertain about your relationship. One of the questions was, are you truly in love with your partner, or just their potential or the idea of them? And that's you know, they show such great promise. They look at their ability for change and growth. They're on the right path.
The partner matching thing is so hard. You know, when people come and ask me like, oh, should I be with this person? I'm like, well, if you're asking me, the answer is clearly no, right? Because you wouldn't have to ask if you were with the right person. Or when you ask someone like why they're in a relationship with somebody and they start reading out his or her resume, right? That's also a bad sign.
What do you mean?
Oh, it's like, oh, we have so much in common. We like to golf together. It's like, it's not a basis for a relationship. Or, oh, you know, she's a ballerina, or, you know, he went to Harvard, or what have you. These are resume items. That's not who the person actually is.
What's a better answer?
I just love being with this person. I just trust them. I enjoy being around them. I love how capable he is. I love how kind she is. You know, I love her spirit. I love his energy. The more
so simple,
materially and concretely definable the reasons are you're together, the worse they are.
The ineffable is actually where the sort of true love lies.
Wow.
Because real love is a form of unity. It's a form of connection. It's connecting spirits. Oh, you too? My consciousness meets your consciousness. It's the underlying drive in love, in art, in science, in mysticism, is the desire for unity. It's the desire for connection. As you know, Borges famously wrote, in every human there's a sense that something infinite has been lost. You know, there's a God-shaped hole in you you're trying to fill. And so we're always trying to find that connection. Love is trying to find it.
That's beautiful, man. I don't even know how they got into, well, yeah, I guess it's talking about changing others, but how do you think we can do better as a society to like remind everyone that like love is that simple sometimes, and like relationships are that simple? Like, because I mean, shit, right now, I mean, we've spoken about it, like whether it's worse right now than it was in the past, whether it's like, oh, marrying others for money or marrying others for like status or whatever the case is. Like nowadays, someone got 1 million followers, that's status too now. Like, and then there's plenty of fucking people with 1 million followers. There's plenty of people with like multiple businesses. Everyone's an entrepreneur nowadays. Like, how do you feel like we can do better as a society at like championing this type of simplicity for the foundation of like love and relationships versus like the latter?
Oh yeah, there's just conversations like this. Like you just have to have more conversations like this so that people can
I guess
chime in and try to understand the best way they can. Because
we gotta find a way to make rap songs about what he was talking about.
Nah, nobody. I mean, it just goes back to, that's why this doesn't have 1 million views. Like this one video is not gonna. It just goes back to
what are you consuming? Like what are you looking for?
What's the majority? The majority is like, oh yeah, I want the girl who has, you know, who's looking bad on Instagram, or I want the guy who's got all the money, and you know what I mean. Like I can take a vacation with him any day of the week, like. Or I want the this and that and this and that, because you're seeing it all over, and everybody's kind of being influenced. So
that's facts.
All we could do is just try to have more conversations like this, so the influence might change from like 70-30 to maybe 50-50 one day, to maybe 60-40 one day, to maybe where everybody's like, okay, this is the wave, you know.
And we're not like
Yeah.
accepting that mind, that like that BS that's kind of fed to us.
Yep. Because we
facts.
get fed it all the time, just like back in the 90s when we didn't have like, you know, these computers with we had computers but we didn't have the internet. Like we had the internet but not like this, you know what I mean?
Right,
so it's
right,
like
right.
we have the information now and we can choose a side based on the information that we've consumed.
True.
And
That's
then
facts.
that's all we could do is just hopefully more people like us or
Be a little
other
more
people,
intentional
yeah.
and be a little more conscious of what we're choosing to like believe in or accept.
Yep.
That's dope.
In one other person and saying, okay, you're male, I'm female, or whatever, and you know, whatever your predilections are, and now we connect, now we form a whole, a connected whole. Or in mysticism, it's like it's all about, okay, sit down, meditate, and you'll feel the whole. In science, it's like, you know, atoms bouncing is mechanics, but that generates heat. So thermodynamics and motion or kinetics are one combined theory. That's a whole. Electricity and magnetism are one thing. That's the whole. Creates that sense of awe. In art, it's like I feel an emotion, I create a piece of art around it, and then you see that painting, or you see the Sistine Chapel, or you read the poem, and you feel that emotion. So again, it's creating unity, it's creating connection, and I think everybody craves that. And so when you really love somebody, it's because you feel a sense of wholeness by being around them, and that sense of wholeness probably doesn't have anything to do with what school they went to, you know, or what career they're in.
Just sort of tying that into the life is short, stop fucking about. If you're faced with a difficult choice and you cannot decide the answer.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of overcompensating for what you got going on in your relationship.
Word.
Because you don't feel secure in your relationship,
Right.
and you don't feel like that relationship is working.
So you're trying to sell
you're
yourself
projecting.
on the ideas and sell someone else on like the idea
You're like
of
a salesman.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, she
trying
just,
to sell a used car, man.
She's smart. She got it. I told you she got a degree at like Harvard, right? Or you know what I mean? Like, or the girl's like, yeah, you know, he makes like $250 a year at a tech company, and like blah blah, and he does this, and and he builds his own like cars, and it's like, yeah, but what's your like why, you know, why him?
Right.
Like really, why him?
Unless you specifically ask, oh, what does he do, or like what is he into, like.
Yeah, no, but mostly how it happens is like, oh damn, that's what's up. You guys in a relationship? Like how's you guys meet? And then it's like, okay, cool. Like, you know, how do you
start
like
spitting his resume like you said?
Yep.
It's weird, man.
There is no, and the reason is modern society is full of options.
Yep.
Yeah.
Knowing this rationally sounds great, but having the courage to commit to it in reality, I think, is a different task. And cutting your losses quickly in the big three: relationships, jobs, and locations, is hard. What would you say to someone who may cerebrally be able to agree with you and say, I understand the answer is no?
My cousin said this about me. He said that what I really notice about you is your ability to walk away from situations that are just not great enough for you or not good enough for you.
Yes.
And I think that is a characteristic that I have. I will not accept second best outcomes in my life. Ultimately, you will end up wherever is acceptable to you. You will get out of life whatever is acceptable to you. And there are certain things to me that are very, very important where I will not settle for second best. But then there are a lot of other things I just don't care about. Because if I spend all my time caring about those things, I don't have the energy for the few things that matter. And so in decision making, I have a few heuristics for myself. Other people can use their own, but mine are, if you can't decide.
I think that goes back to desires, having way too much desires, and he talks about it in his book too. In the Almanac. Yeah, because if you have all these desires, like, oh, I want to be director, I want to be doing this, I want to be doing that, I want to be doing this, I want to be doing that, and like, you know, I'm the type of person like I want to do so much different shit. Yeah. And he's like, yo, you gotta focus on one desire at a time, or two, or not like fucking multiple. Like,
right, because you kind of stretch yourself thin.
Yeah, yeah, and then like, you know, obviously like one tends to, you know,
We don't have the AI chips in our brain yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah. So yeah, you don't want to have too much desires where it kind of weighs you down, energetically
I feel that.
Wanting to have so much. Like it's like, God damn, you gotta focus on one thing at a time.
Right.
The answer is no. If you're offered an opportunity, if you have a new thing that you're saying yes or no to that is a change from where you're starting, the answer is by default always no. Secondly, if you have two decisions, if you have A or B, and both seem like very equal, take the path that's more painful in the short term, the one that's going to be painful immediately, because your brain is always trying to avoid pain. So any pain that is imminent, it is going to treat as much larger than it actually is.
This is kind of like a decision-making equivalent of Taleb's surgeon.
Tell a surgeon where you want the surgeon that doesn't look as good because he's more likely to be a good surgeon. Yeah, it's similar in that appearances are deceiving because you're avoiding conflict, you're avoiding pain. So take the path that is more painful in the short term, because your brain is creating this illusion that the short-term pain is greater than the long-term pain. Because long-term, you'll commit your future self to all kinds of long-term pain.
Mañana.
Exactly, mañana. So take the more short-term painful one. And then finally, the last one, which I would try.
Also, man, with these conversations, like these podcast conversations, it's so funny, like how with different friend groups or different people you're on, how you can't have these certain conversations with people. Like,
oh, for sure.
If you're with a certain friend, you can't have this conversation.
Depending on the setting, too.
Yeah, and it'll always pivot back to celebrity gossip or, whatever movie, whatever Netflix show, whatever. Because it's kind of easier for them to talk, like weigh in on that. And that goes back to people not thinking for themselves today. Because like you'll get into a topic like this and they almost feel afraid to comment on it. A, they might feel like they might get canceled by what they might say. And then B, they're just not like looking into that, or they haven't even thought about the conversations of like, these conversations they have on a podcast or something like that. And then it's like, so, very quickly I realized that a lot of people who don't really look into themselves or try to improve themselves or really look in deep or have a deep conversation, they try to sway the conversation over to, oh, did you see that last football game last week? Like, it's like, come on, bro. Like, stop changing the topic. If we get on a deep topic, just continue with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stay on that topic. And the thing is, if they don't, that's how you know that they just really, they're on some NPC shit.
So check this out. This is so I seen this post breaking down on, like, I think I sent it to you, but it was like, I don't know if it's relative, but it's just kind of popping in my head because of what you just said. So it was saying how, like, the process of our souls, how they work, like from coming to planet Earth. Obviously, depending on what religion you believe, that's like, it's like has nothing to do with this conversation. Long story short, they were saying you have this soul. If you're a foundational soul and this is your first time coming to planet Earth, these are the things you're probably gonna act like. Stuff. Yeah, you're gonna be like very attached to like ego, personal stuff. Everything is gonna feel so big and grand, because it's like your first time your first go around. Yeah. And then like if you come back to Earth and you're reincarnated, then like your second time you're more focused on like spiritual stuff, which is like creating boundaries, learning how to some of the shit we talk about, a lot of shit that we're working on. Yeah. And then the third time, and then it was like on the third one, I forgot the name of that. It was like foundational soul, something soul, and something soul. And it was pretty interesting. And I was like, damn, maybe those people that we do critique or feel like, damn, they just on some surface level shit. I'm like, damn, maybe it's just their first go around and they don't really have that spiritual depth yet.
Shit, I'm gonna call it out next time. Like, as soon as they switch the conversation,
you a foundational soul.
A foundational. What, excuse me?
What? Yeah, you good, bro.
Nah, you good. You good.
Where my people at?
Start singing.
Oh no! It's just like ready. I could tell that it's your first time like on planet Earth. Like you ain't really like
first
built like that,
right?
He's like, what the fuck? I thought we were all like. I mean, yeah, depending on what you believe in, but like,
looks like you
first timer.
A waitress, he's the first time to get him a menu.
First lifetime eating pancakes.
The Kapil Gupta with is that you want to take
This dude
the
probably on his
choice
third
that will
life.
leave
Oh,
you
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he
more
talking- he doing Doctor
equanimous in
Strange
the
shit.
long
He
term.
opening
By
portals.
equanimous, he means like more at peace, more
the
mental
third
peace
life,
in the
or
long
maybe
term.
fifth
So
life.
whatever clears your mind more and will have you having less self-talk in the future, if you can model that out, that is probably the better route to go. And then I would focus decision making down on the three things that really matter, because everything else is downstream of these three decisions. Especially these are early life decisions. Later in life, you have different things to optimize for, but early in life, you're trying to figure out who you're with, what you're doing, and where you live. And I think on all three of those, you want to think pretty hard about it. And people do some of these unconsciously. You know, who you're with very often is like, well, we were in a relationship, we stumbled along, it felt okay, it had been enough time, so we got married, right? Not great reasons. Maybe not terrible reasons either. I mean, it's people who overthink these things sometimes don't get the right answer, but maybe here, if you're the kind of person that's not going to settle for second best, you iterate on a closed time frame so you don't run out the clock, and then you decide. On what you do, you try a whole bunch of different things until you find the one that feels like play to you, looks like work to others. You can't lose at it. Get some leverage, try to find some practical application of it, and go into that. And then where you live is really important. I don't think people spend enough time on that one. I think people pick cities randomly based on where I went to school or where my family happened to be or where my friend was, or I visited one weekend, I really liked it. You really want to think it through, because where you live really constrains and defines your opportunities. It's going to determine your friend circle. It's going to determine your dating pool. It's going to determine your job opportunities. It's going to determine the food and air and water quality that you receive. It's going to determine your proximity to your family, which might be important as you get older and have kids. So very, very, very important decision. Weather, quality of life, how much do you stay inside or outside, how long are you going to live based on that. And I think people choose that one probably more poorly than they put a lot less thought into that one than the other two.
In some ways, yeah, but also you're so right. How many people fall backward into a relationship, and before they know it, we're living together. We got a dog. We got a kid. We were married. And
yeah, and then when you have kids, because then that's half of you and half of them running around. You're never going to separate yourself from that. So once you have a child with somebody, then the most important thing in the world to you is half that other person, whether you like them or not.
Yeah. Jeffrey Miller had a tweet a long time ago that I always think about, and he said, every parenting book in the world could be replaced with one book on behavioral genetics.
I'm a big believer in genetics. Yes, I do think a lot of behavior is downstream of genetics, and I think we underplay that. We like to overplay nurture and underplay underplay nature for societal reasons. But nature is a big deal. The temperament of the person you marry is probably going to be reflected in your child by default. People can
change. If you want a securely attached kid, pick a securely attached partner.
Well, the secret to a happy relationship is two happy people, right? So I would say if you want to be happy, then be with a happy person. Don't think you're going to be with someone who's unhappy and then make them happy down the road. Or if you're okay with them being unhappy, but there are other things you like about them, that's fine. But this goes back to the not trying to change
for their unhappiness with other things.
Yeah, and actually, we talked a little bit about how people do connect successfully, on spirit and those things, but that's maybe a little too abstract. If you want to get a little more practical, it could be based on values. And values are a set of things you won't compromise on. Values are the tough decisions of, oh, my parent got sick. Do they move in with us, or do we put them in a nursing home? Do we give the children money, or?
It's cool how he said that, like, abstract versus practical, right? Because it's like what we were talking about. And sometimes when you get to, like, abstract or spiritual, or, like, it sounds like I call it like woogity boogity, like people say, they start feeling like well, it could get above certain people's mindset, and it's like, all right, let's just like he said, let's be a little more practical. Then what's the values, And I think that's a cool way to do it.
No, for sure, and it's a solution to that, for sure, and it gives people a better perspective on making their choice.
Especially when you get in a relationship.
Yeah, those values are serious, like. And those need to be talked about, and I feel like that's skipped in a lot of relationships.
Yeah, for real.
It's just like, it's all like love, sex, and just like having a good time. And then when you feel like you want to get married, but you never talked about morals and values. You just kind of just said like, we have great sex. We like being around each other, and like, yeah, man, let's make it work. Let's get married. Like, it's like, Nah, bro. Like,
But
this
and then
person-
you know what? It's like those people probably have to go through it to learn from it. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
you
but
know.
you know what's tough about it is that
Mhm.
we again we have the information, man, and it sucks because we rush into things
Right,
based
right.
on like emotions and not just like we're leaving our head out of it too,
Right.
and we're just going off emotions, which is not enough for building a life with somebody. You gotta
yeah,
use both.
facts. Building a life,
Especially as a guy,
Yeah.
you know, you have to use that brain,
Yeah,
man,
for real.
or else,
Dudes,
you know what I
we
mean?
got to do better.
Yeah,
Even if you don't have the tools to talk about it clearly, at least like one, make sure your values are solid, but and then also like observe, bro. Like I feel like I'm a big observer. Like I think that's why it benefited me and Sam being friends for so long, because like I was able to observe outside of us working together and working on projects, like what her values are and how she operates in life and how she is with her family. And I was like, damn, we kind of have a lot of the same values, you know.
yep. Which is
But yeah,
good.
yeah, man. So
It's
if you can't
always
talk
good.
about it, definitely observe, man. Take your time, King. Take your time.